Bleacher Report has a trade idea that has the Bulls sending out Ayo Dosunmu. Are the Bulls building around Josh Giddey? And now that Giddey the deal is done, I guess the only question left is who's going to be the starting small forward. We'll get right into all of that straight after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome back to another episode of Whole Lotta Bull. I'm Troy. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Troy, but you can follow the show at Whole Lotta Bull. All right, guys. So now I did see that the guys over at CHGO did cover this topic today, but I haven't watched that episode yet, so I don't know what they've said. But they brought up, I do know they spoke about an article from Bleacher Report that has a suggestion of the Bulls sending out Ayo Dosunmu. Now, this is a three-team trade. Now, basically, I think this comes from essentially a Denver fan or maybe just someone who doesn't like the Oklahoma City Thunder. But this is in play to try and prevent the OKC Thunder from repeating as NBA champions. And it has the Bulls sending out Artis to the Denver Nuggets in a deal that I'm not good with. So the full trade suggestion is that the Denver Nuggets receive Justin Champagnie from Washington and also Ayo Dosunmu. The Washington Wizards received a 2032 second round pick via Denver, while the Chicago Bulls receive Zeke Naji, Peyton Watson, 2026 second round pick, least favorable of Dallas, Oklahoma City, and Washington, Philadelphia via Washington, and a 2028 first round pick swap, top 10 protected via Denver. So the Bulls part of this, obviously we lose Io, we get Zeke Naji, Peyton Watson, and the 2026 second round pick, that least favorable one that I spoke of, and a 28 first round pick swap, top 10 protected. Now the article goes on to say this as the reason why behind why the Bulls do this trade, and I'll get into my thoughts after that. Stomaching the 3 years and 23.2 million remaining in Naji's deal is a tall order. However, it's also not the backbusting task many make it out to be. Naji tops out at 5.3% of the salary cap, and Chicago could have rotation minutes for him to play depending on its plans for the expiring contracts of Zach Collins and Nikola Vucevic. Getting a flyer, Watson is worth the financial trouble. He could be their perimeter defensive anchor of the future and more on ball offense to plumb. Having to pay him next summer adds a wrinkle to the equation, but the Bulls are seeing firsthand with Josh Giddey how restricted free agency favors incumbent teams. Speaking of Giddey, if the plan is to re-sign him this summer and Kobe White next offseason, Dosumu's days in the Windy City seem numbered. Exchanging him for a higher upside play in Watson, an unprotected swap from a Nuggets team with one of the NBA's most complicated cap sheets, is perfectly defensible. If the Bulls front office feels otherwise, they can push for Denver's 2030 swap or maybe even Julian Strawther. Now, I don't like this deal at all whatsoever. Not interested in Zeke Naji's deal, which looking at the Denver Nuggets salary cap, it has another it's got 4 years remaining on the deal. Well, sorry, excuse me, 3 years remaining on it at $8.1 million. Now it is a descending contract, but it has $8.1 million this upcoming season, uh, just under 7.5 remaining for the following 2 seasons after that. While looking at the contracts for Peyton Watson is $4.3 million this season, but he's also a restricted free agent coming up next off season. Now, to be quite frank, adding in the second round pick, the least favorable of all those teams that were mentioned and a possible pick swap with the Denver Nuggets. And then Zeke Nnaji and Peyton Watson. I'm sorry, nothing about this trade thrills me whatsoever. Now I'd assume is a unrestricted free agent coming up this season. After this year, obviously it's the same with Kobe White. So the Bulls have decisions to make on Kobe and Io. And despite what some people think, there is absolutely, after signing Josh Giddey to a 25 AAV contract just a couple of days ago, there is still room in the salary cap for the Bulls next season to re-sign Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu. And quite frankly, I'm keeping Ayo Dosunmu over bringing in Peyton Watson and Zeke Nnaji. Now, Peyton Watson may have a high potential upside, but Ayo Dosunmu right now is probably the Bulls' best two-way player on the team. Probably goes without question whatsoever. And as we'll get into like the final topic of the day, like I'd assume it could potentially be in the Bulls starting lineup this coming season as well. So I don't know why potentially trading a guy like Io for a guy that may just be a rotational piece in Peyton Watson and a guy that may not see minutes in Zeke Nnaji whatsoever. Like so trading Io Dosunmu is not worth bringing in that contract of Zeke Nnaji alone. Like to me, it's just non-negotiable. Not doing it. Io Dosunmu's got a, as far as I'm concerned, Io Dosunmu's here for the long term with the Chicago Bulls. And if it had to, and I've said this before over the off season. Now, while we can keep both Io and Kobe, but ultimately, if the Bulls were to have to decide between one of the two, between Io and Kobe, I'm keeping Io. Not because I don't think Kobe's good enough to play to keep around. He absolutely is. It's just that thing about Io Dosunmu, who's that two-way player. I mean, we know now he's not going to get you constantly 20 plus points a game like Kobe can do. Now, fine, Kobe hasn't averaged that in the season yet, but we know that Kobe can explode offensively. But I'd assume he can easily get you that 15 to 20 points a game if that is what you required of him. Like if Kobe has moved on and you're left with starting Ayo Dosunmu at the two. So quite frankly, this trade proposal does absolutely nothing for me as far as the Chicago Bulls. And I'm not interested in helping another team win a title. Now people can say, well, the Bulls did that last offseason by trading Alex Caruso to the OKC Thunder for Josh Giddey. Well, I'm sorry, as I've said before, I had the OKC Thunder winning the championship with Josh Giddey. And I said that right after the Thunder lost to the Dallas Mavericks in that playoff series, even after Josh Giddey got benched in that series because they targeted him and he had a bad series. But hey, that happens. But as far as I'm concerned, now people can go on, well, OKC do not win that championship without AC. You know, who's going to guard Jokic? Who's going to guard this guy? Who's going to guard that guy? Mark Daigneault's a damn good coach. And OKC is a very, very deep team with defenders all across the board. I'm sorry, that was still gonna, as far as I'm concerned, they were my favorite to win the title this last season, even if they had kept Josh Giddey and not brought in Alex Caruso. But hey, that's just my opinion. I'm sure, and I know many of you don't agree with that, but hey, it's my opinion, and to be quite frank, I don't give a damn if you disagree with me. Anyway, moving on to that. Now that Josh Giddey has signed his contract, well, he hasn't actually officially signed it yet. He is on his way to the United States um, from Australia. Now there is now maybe his favorite AFL team is playing in the AFL finals tonight. They're actually playing here in Adelaide against the Adelaide Crows. His team is Hawthorn. So maybe he might be waiting until tomorrow, Australia time, to leave to get over to Chicago to sign the contract. But Josh Giddey is on his way back to Chicago to sign that deal at the Advocate Center. He's gonna put it in pen on paper. He's not doing that whole, modern technology with DocuSign. And when it comes to that contract agreement in terms of when it was actually agreed to, now, obviously, yes, the Bulls have been negotiating and Josh Giddey have been negotiating for quite some time. But I do have a slight little theory that maybe this has been agreed to for actually quite some time, and maybe that they were waiting on. Now, this is just a complete hypothetical. I'm not saying there's any truth to this whatsoever. This is just me spitballing. That maybe this deal was agreed to some potentially maybe some weeks ago, um, and that they were just waiting on Josh and the Bulls were just waiting on Giddey to finish his commitments with the junior basketball camps down here in Australia. We did see there was one point he had a bit of a break between junior camps, and he went back to the states. He was over in Vegas during summer league, even though he did not actually attend any of the summer league games to watch the Bulls play. But we do know he met up with Billy Donovan and I believe Torres Karnisovas as well. And like, who knows? Maybe even back then, maybe terms were much closer back then than what was being reported. We also had those reports only a matter of days before the contract agreement was actually brought to light that he was the final offer of 4 years, $88 million, and then obviously a matter of days later, Shams reports that he's agreed to that 4 year, $100 million deal. But yeah, it's just a bit of a theory that I have that maybe this deal has actually been agreed to for some time, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe going back as far as when Giddey was in Vegas. Now, again, I'm not saying there's any truth to that. I'm just saying this is just speculation on my part in a theory. Maybe they were waiting for him to finish up all his commitments here in Australia with the basketball camps before letting it be known that terms to a contract extension or a brand new contract have been agreed to. But Josh is now, if he's not already on his way on the planes back to the United States and Chicago, he will be on his way back to Chicago very, very shortly, potentially as late as tomorrow if he's in Adelaide at the moment to watch to catch the footy finals. But now that that deal has been agreed to, and there's some people out there who have this thing that now that Josh Giddey at this point in time is the Bulls' highest paid player, that we are building this team around him. Now, I've been one of those people to say for quite some time, Josh Giddey, we're not building around Josh Giddey. Now, do you need to build a team to help maximize his skill set and to cover some of his weaknesses? Absolutely, but you're not building the team around him. And the plan in the future of the Bulls, at least we all hope so anyway, and even I hope so as a Josh Giddey fan, and you can call me Stan if you want to, I don't give a damn. But even with Josh Giddey on this team, the plan going forward should not be for Josh to be your number one or your 1A or number two player on this team. Josh Giddey should be your number 3 or even 4 on your team, and this is as far as scoring options, of course, as far as scoring options are concerned. But what Josh Giddey does need to have go for him in terms of a roster construction is that he can't just be like they did to him in Oklahoma City, is that they can't take him off ball and just make him go stand in the corner and shoot threes. That's not his game. Josh Giddey's strengths, and always has been since his days as a junior, is to run the offense, set up his teammates, and make them better and create open shots for them. Now, part of me, now obviously in Oklahoma City Thunder, the ball's in Shea Gilgeous Alexander's hands basically all the time. They gave him as essentially the point guard role. But part of me thinks like, what if the Thunder actually allow Josh Giddey to play to his strengths and actually create for the likes of SGA and Jalen Williams and Lou Dort. How much better that could have that team been had they allowed Josh Giddey to play to his strengths rather than make him a sacrificial lamb and expose his complete utter weaknesses at that point. But that lucky for Josh, that's not going to be the case here in Chicago. We all saw that what happened. Now he was while the keys were more so in his hands, even at the start of last year, they weren't truly. He didn't really have the keys fully to the car because we see that obviously Zach Levine is still a very ball dominant player. Even though Zach Levine still had his probably his highest assisted scoring of his career last season with Josh Giddey. But had Josh Giddey been in the role from the start of last season, and now again, also need to remember that he was coming into a whole new brand new system, playing in the Olympics. Or got injured in the last game, so he had massive layoff from that injury. But coming into a brand new team, learning a whole new system, and as Josh Giddey said at the end of season press conference, his aggression was down, his confidence was down, and he didn't want to step on toes. So he says that the play that we saw at the second half of the season where he got very aggressive, he played very confidently, he was shooting the ball like an absolute sniper. He says that's more of the and now probably not so much the shooting the ball like a sniper part, but Josh says that's the player he is more of than as opposed to the first part of the season. Now we get to see for a full season and for the next 4 years, what is Josh Giddey gonna do as far as running this offense? Now we all know he was in the not as I've said before, and Hayes has said it, and Phil from Just Another Year Chicago Bulls has brought up the stat that Hayes has used is that Josh Giddey was in the 98th percentile for creating wide open shots for his teammates. Now I dare say we're going to see Josh Giddey in that 98th percentile again, maybe even in the 99th percentile. But Josh Giddey is not a player that you build around. He's a player that you build with. And like I've used the whole building a home analogy before, he's not the concrete slab on which everything stands on and is the foundation. He's the timber frame. He's the piping for the water. He's the electrical cables. He's the steel frame. Maybe he's the roof. Like he's one of those pieces. He's not the foundational piece of this team. He's not what you build around. He's what you build with. Now, now that Josh Giddey has finally signed this contract, well, signing officially signed in the coming days. But now that this deal has been agreed to, the final question remains is who is going to be the Chicago Bulls starting small forward? Now, shout out to my guys, Hayes and Phil. They've obviously earlier today, or yesterday for you Americans, by the time you guys see this, they've already spoken on this subject, and it was a topic that has been on the minds for a while now of all Bulls fans, and now that Giddey has signed the contract, it did pop into my mind again. But so shout out to Hayes and Phil for also jumping on that one first. I woke up this morning and saw Hayes' video. I'm like, oh man, now I've got to come up with another topic. But hey, here we are. Um, so much love to Hayes and Phil, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So obviously, the Bulls ended last season with Kevin Huerter as the starting small forward. Now we look at his numbers at the end of last season as a starter for the Chicago Bulls. After that trade with the Zach Levine trade, bringing him over from Sacramento, averaging 15.3 points, 3.9 assists, 3.4 rebounds, and 16 games as a starter for the Bulls. Now, and he had shooting some very damn good shooting splits. Now I'm gonna leave out the free throw percentage here because it's at 75%, but it's on 8 attempts. So, I mean, he had 2 at no point did he have any more than 2 attempts in a game. So he shot 2, 4, 6. He took 8 free throws as a starter for the Chicago Bulls. So his game is not aggressive getting to the rim and drawing fouls. He's out there to be a three-point shooter for us. So, but he shot 50.3% from the field and 41.7% from beyond the arc. Now, obviously, when he first came to the Bulls, and I can't quite remember if he was starting right out of the gate for Chicago, but he did stumble for those first few games. I think then we went into the All-Star break. Everyone got to reset, and then Kevin came back out and was back to looking like the Atlanta Hawks. Kevin Herter that personally, he was a guy I was actually interested in trading for a few years ago. And I think that was partly maybe back when some of the Zach Levine rumors had started. Now I think Kevin Herter was already in Sacramento by that point, but I remembered what he was like in Atlanta. People were calling him the next Klay Thompson or a Klay Thompson light. But he was definitely someone I was interested in getting to Chicago for his 3-point shooting ability. But he's not the strongest defender on the roster, and that's where. But he also does bring a plus minus of an average of 8.8 as a plus minus. Now that's not a stat to you could probably rely on heavily. Also, the plus minus depends on who else is on the court around you as well. But he obviously did bring some positivity to the ball starting lineup. Now, if you have the starting lineup of obviously Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Kevin Herter, Martas Buzelis, and Nikola Vucevic, when you're gonna have obviously Giddey and Kobe bringing the ball up the court, running and setting up, you're gonna have Martas Buzelis who hopefully takes another step in his development and actually starts becoming more of aggressive, looking to get his own shot type of guy. And Nikola Vucevic down on the block, he wants to get his shots as well. So that should, in a way, and having Kevin Herter as a threat out there should absolutely help the Bulls get off to some good starts offensively. The question is the defense. Josh Giddey, not a great defender. Kobe White, not a great defender. Kevin Herter, not a great defender. Marcus Buzelis, he definitely has the potential to be a very good defender, but he's not there yet. He's still probably what we can most consider below average defender. And also Nikola Vucevic, while in a one-on-one situation in the post, he's pretty decent. Like he's not a lockdown defender by any means, but he's not horrible in a one-on-one situation. But in the team defensive concept, he's working. He's just a turnstile out there, and you wait here. Here's your table. Your dinner is served. You can go to the basket. So offensively, having Kevin Herter in the starting lineup um, brings some great potential to the offensive side of the ball, but a lot to left to be desired as far as the defensive end is concerned. Now, another player that can potentially be a starter for the Bulls next season is a guy we just spoke about at the start of the show in being Ayo Dosunmu. Now, obviously, I had a interrupted season. He only played 46 games this year. Obviously, he had that shoulder injury, but that looks like it's all well and good now. He's back on the court and doing full basketball activities from the reports that I've seen. But I averaging 12.3 points a game, 4.5 assists, 3.5 rebounds in just the 46 games last year in 30 minutes. So for people out there who are saying Ayo doesn't get many minutes, he averaged 30 minutes a game. Billy Donovan trusts Ayo Dosunmu a lot. Now his shooting splits 49.2% from the field and just a shade under 33% from beyond the arc. Now I think a lot of that, yes, he really struggled to start the season with his shooting. There was a lot of people I had questions about or what's happening with Io, like because he came into the league a pretty decent shooter. Like we saw that game in Boston where he hit 6 out of 6 from beyond the arc. So there was definitely concerns there with Io, but like now that if that shoulder's back to full health, Io gets and obviously Io's gonna have been working on his game in the off season. I fully expect that he's gonna be able to get back to his best, and if he's someone that starts at the small forward position now being 6'5", Billy does love his small ball. You got obs even though Josh Giddey's 6'8", point guard, um, you got Kobe at 6'5", and Ayo being 6'4", 6'5". Billy does love his 3 guard rotations. Now, Ayo Dosunmu is someone I can definitely see him being the starting small forward for Chicago next season. Again, probably the best two-way player on this team. But the other guy who is in line to be the starting small forward for Chicago next season is the guy that we tried Alonzo Ball for in Isaac Okoro. Now, his numbers down last year were down, only averaging 19 minutes a game, 6 rebounds, 2.5 rebounds, just over an assist, under a steal, point 0.3 of a block. But he did have a plus minus for the season of plus 253. So for a guy who's only averaging 19 minutes a game and played 55 games, a plus 253 to me actually sounds pretty damn good. But if you to start Isaac Okoro, I'm not bringing him into the starting lineup for any offense. Anything he gives you offensively is a bonus. Now he's going to have open shots available to him basically all game long, especially when he's going to get set up by Josh Giddey and Kobe White. Nikola Vucevic is going to pull defenders down, especially if you got Okoro on Vucevic's side of the ball. Okoro's defender might come down and double team. Quick kick out to Okoro. He's got an open three there. Now he did shoot the 3-pointer at a career best 37%. Now that is only on a small volume at 2.7 attempts per game. So maybe this season in more of the balls, up tempo offense, run and gun, and not just like getting out on fast breaks all the time, but the ball, even in the half court, should be moving a lot quicker as well. We don't now again just going back to Zach Levine being here, but the offense is not going to be, excuse me, slowed down by Zach Levine slowing the ball, slowing down the offense, pounding the ball and trying to take his man one on one. The ball's going to be moving and popping. Guys should be moving off ball constantly. Back cuts, 45 angle cuts. You name it, the Bulls should be doing it because if you keep moving it with Josh Giddey at the offense and Kobe White, for that matter, even Ayo Dosunmu, who's a pretty decent playmaker himself, you guys keep moving off the ball and all that, you're going to end up with some open shots. So Isaac Okoro, I'm expecting nothing but a defensive. What I expect from him to bring to the ball is his defensive aggressiveness. Now, I would expect him to be taking the opposition team's best perimeter defender, uh, best perimeter offensive player, excuse me. Now, whether that be the likes of like the Kevin Durant's, the Donovan Mitchells, the Jalen Browns, like all those types of guys, that's what I expect from Isaac Okoro if he is the starting small forward. That way, the rest of the guys they're going to be concentrating on the offensive end, but obviously not to allow anyone to slack off on the defensive end, but because everyone should be giving 150% defensive effort at all times. But Okoro is going to be your primary perimeter defensive player. Now, before I move on to the next guy, I actually want to quickly switch back to the building around Giddy topic. And it's something that Hayes mentioned on Chicago Bull Central today was an outstanding point. Now, these people who say that you need out perimeter 3-point shooters, you need a rim protected shot blocker, and all these other things that you say that you need to build around Josh Giddey. Well, guess what? And again, shout out Hayes for saying this on Chicago Ball Central today. Isn't that what every team needs, regardless of other players' deficiencies in today's modern NBA? You need perimeter shooters. You need shot blocking centers. You need athletes on this team. So just because you need that with Josh Giddey, you need that with everyone else, with every other team. So what's different? You just trying to find a way to shit on Josh Giddey? Every team needs 3-point shooters. Every team needs perimeter defenders. Every team needs a shot blocking center. Chicago's no different. The Lakers are no different. The Knicks are no different. Cleveland's no different. You you look at okay, let's look at Cleveland. While they didn't make the finals, you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers last season. What have they got? They've got a bunch of guys. They've got two bigs that can rim protect in Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. They've got perimeter defenders, and they had one in Isaac Okoro, who they've traded to us now, and they got Lonzo Ball. And hey, I when it comes to Lonzo, I hope he plays 60 games next year and balls out. I really do. Just don't see it happening because we all know Lonzo's injury history. But then you look at the New York Knicks, one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference last year. Okay, you got Jalen Brunson at the point. To be honest, probably not the strongest defender. He's not bad, but he's not good. But then you got perimeter. But look at the defenders you got on the court around him. Look at the guys in the middle. OKC Thunder, deep with perimeter defenders, deep with interior defenders, deep with shooters. Same with the Knicks, deep with shooters. Same with Cleveland, they've got shooters galore. That's what you need in a modern NBA, regardless of who's on your roster. So cut the cap, just cut the cap on trying to say that this is a Bulls only problem because of Josh Giddey. It's not. It's a league wide thing. This is what every team needs. Okay, enough of that. Back to the starting small forward situation with Chicago. And the last guy we're going to talk about, which frankly I don't think should happen and and I don't, honestly don't think it will happen. Patrick Williams, can he come back from an off season and was last season completely derailed by that foot injury? Is is that what stopped him from being anything resembling a heartbeat last season? To me, frankly, is I don't really care about last season, like, for the excuses with the foot injury. I'm sorry. Professional athletes, you got some of the best medical staff in the world, in NBA rosters. Patrick Williams, everything's up here with this guy. And now, so from the reports that we've seen over the offseason, if they hold out to be true, Patrick Williams has to earn everything he gets. So I don't see him being a potential candidate for the starting small forward or power forward position if they move Martis to the starting three. But hey, if Patrick Williams comes into training camp and absolutely destroys it, and he comes back with a whole new mentality, and he uses those physical tools to his advantage, and shows that yeah, he does belong in the starting lineup, and he's going to prove it all damn season long, and prove that he's worth that 5 year, $90 million contract, then all power to Patrick Williams. I just don't see it happening, and if it does, it's because he's actually earned it, not been gifted it. So I'm out on Patrick Williams. I hope that the Bulls can find a deal for him sometime soon to move him off the roster because, yeah, as we all know, that $18 million is wasted money at this stage. But hey, if Patrick Williams can come back and prove us all wrong, I hope he does. But if he can come back and prove us all wrong, then we'll cop that one. Absolutely. Or at least we you should be able to cop it if he comes back and proves you wrong and proves to be a competent NBA player. And the last guy, and probably the least likely, actually, I'll probably give him more hope over Patrick Williams starting. but, rookie Noah Esenge, now he is very raw, but he does have some, experience starting in the professional leagues, and but he does need to bulk up and spend some time in the gym over the next year or 2 and put some muscle in that frame of his, probably before he's ready to be a starter in this league. Now, I anticipate much, and I know Hayes has said it, I'm pretty sure other people have said it as well, that fully expecting Noah Sengay to get the Martis Bazalis treatment, and they're gonna bring him along very, very slowly. Now, with Martis last year, we obviously saw it got to a point where he gave Billy Donovan no choice but to play him and play him much larger minutes. And I hope the same thing for Noah Sengay coming to the season. I hope Noah gets to a point where it's like, "No, you're gonna play me, and I'm gonna show you need me on that court." And it'll be fun as hell to watch a lineup out there of, let's just say Giddey, Kobe, Kevin Herter, or even Ayo or Isaac Okoro at the 3, and Marcus Gonzalez at the 4, and Noah Sengay as a kind of a small ball 5. And this is, and not saying a starting lineup, but just a lineup that can be on the floor at some point throughout the game. That 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 ro- that lineup would get out and run and probably create some havoc, especially out on the break. I mean, imagine like Josh Giddey bringing the ball up on the fast break, and you got Marcus Gonzalez on one lane, Noah Sengay on the other lane. Throw it up there, see who gets it first. Just hopefully it doesn't turn out to be a Torrey Craig, Andre Drummond situation, but I think Martis and Noah will be a bit smarter than that. But like having those 2 guys out running the break with Giddey would be a lot of fun. And obviously you got, let's just use Kobe and Herter as the examples. You got those 2 filling the lanes as well behind Noah and Martis, ready to catch a shot for an open 3 on the break as well. All right, guys, that's my time for today. We'll leave it at that one. So, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share it among everyone. Help me grow this channel. If you think I'm tripping on everything, if or you agree, whatever it is, drop some comments down below. I'll get back to you all. Pretty much because no one really comments anyway, as someone pointed out. Um, So yeah, appreciate you all for tuning in. If you got any questions for me, do you want me to cover on a potential future mailbag episode? You can hit me up at Whole Lotta Bull pod at outlook.com. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Whole Lotta Bull, or you can follow me personally at Bulls_Troy. So until next time, Bulls Nation, see you red.